Hey, how you guys doing? Okay, so welcome back. This is our second installment of drawing a Celtic rose. My name's Miss Flynn, Maggie Flynn, and I'm gonna show you how to do some stuff. So like I said in our last video, every day at our school we do good things. So I want to do a good thing. My sister is a nurse in Allegan, and she works really hard, and she's an awesome nurse. I'm so proud of her, and I'm so grateful that she's there taking care of people, that really need her, and all the caregivers out there. I just want to give like a big shout out, like for real, you know. That's all I gotta say about that. So anyway, okay, on to our drawing. Let's see, where did we leave off? I better check, huh? Because I don't, God, it's so weird looking at myself. It's like, God, does my face really do that? Sorry for the weird face, I don't know. All right, so last time we talked, we were talking about value scale. Get my little sketchbook out. Ding, ding, yep. Let me tilt this down. Thanks. All right, we were talking about making a value scale, having a smooth transition, learning how to wrap the value scale around a shape. And in this case, it's an organic shape, because why? We're drawing a rose. Where's the rose? So I don't flip it the wrong way. Okay, yep. So today, we're gonna put the pieces together that we made last time, and we practiced drawing the Celtic knot, so we kind of know how to do that. And we practiced shading the organic shapes, so we kind of know how to do that. And today, I'm gonna show you guys how to put it all together. Let's see. Okay, so I drew this rose, and I'm gonna draw it again on this page, and you can either follow along, or you can get on, actually, you know what I do, like have my kids do sometimes? I feel this is weird, like I don't know how to actually, when I'm talking, I gotta like figure this out. Okay, so what I have my kids do sometimes is when they're drawing, it's so much easier when you draw to draw from a drawing. So if, for example, a kid wants to draw, I don't know, a cheetah, I'll say, look up a coloring book image of a cheetah. And because it takes away all the information that your eye can't dissimulate for the contour edge. And that's what you need in a line drawing, is the contour edge only to start, okay? So when you have your contour edge down, and if you take it from a coloring book page, you have everything you need. So I even like got my little iPad out and I Googled coloring pages of roses. So you can either do this and try to copy it that way. Again, it takes all the information away, the miscellaneous information that it's hard for your eye to process. When you're learning how to draw, it's super hard to draw from life, really, really hard. It's a skill that really comes later on down the line. When you're beginning drawing, it's much easier to take a drawing from a coloring book page with just contour line. That way your eye doesn't have to figure it all out, right? Because it's just simple and it's there for you. Got it? Okay. So your choices today are either draw along with me when I draw, or to draw, from a coloring book page that you find. Yeah? All right. So let's turn the page down. And again, I'm drawing upside down, so it's a little weird. Like, oh, I don't know. So please bear with me if it doesn't turn out quite right. Yeah? Thanks. All right. So we're going to tilt it down. And here's what I've drawn. Here's my empty page. And then here's where we're going. Oops, that's my cover page. Here's where we're going, okay? So I found that it's easier because I was thinking, do I start with the knot or do I start with the rose? In this drawing, I started with the knot, and I only had so much room for the rose. And the main idea of your story, because we really are talking about a visual story here, okay? When you do art, you're telling a story through pictures. All right, so I started with the knot on this one, and then I did the rose last, and I feel like the rose isn't quite as big as I wanted it to be. So in this one, I started with the rose and I did the knot secondly. So you have a choice. You can either start with the knot and then draw the rose, or do it this way, and this is the way I'm gonna do it today, okay? So if you wanna follow along with me, you can follow along with me. All right, so last time we talked about really knowing how an object is put together helps you understand how it draws. There's something called form and function in art. Form, F-O-R-M, and function, F-U-N, function, F-U-N-C-T-I-O-N? Yeah, I think so. Form and function, I didn't write it down, and I'm not gonna try to write it upside down because I'm not even sure if I could spell it right. Okay, so form and function in art helps you draw. It helps you understand how to draw something super, super, super big deal. Form and function. Here's why. Like for example, if I was gonna draw an owl, I have to think in my mind, what is it that makes an owl look owly, right? Well, the big eyes. Why? Because it hunts at night. The function of the owl dictates its form. Does that make sense? Okay, so especially when you draw things in nature, the shape holds true and it tells you so much about how to draw it if you understand how it's formed, how it lives, how it hunts, how it eats, you know, what its habits are, blah, blah, blah. It does make a huge, huge difference, okay? So with a rose, which is what we're drawing, the form of the rose is formed by like being a tight little bud, and then it opens up slowly. So when we start with this drawing, we always have to consider the center of the drawing. In fact, that's where I'm going to start, okay? I'm going to start at the center of the drawing, and I'm drawing it upside down, so that's going to be super weird. I don't know how I'm going to do this. All right, so what you need to do is, and again, I apologize for the, you know, I can't get the shadow daily down. I hope you can see this. I started with the letter E, and I tilted the E on its side. So the very first step that you do, and again, you know, if you're having a hard time, pause the video and then you can just catch up with me. So I just took the letter E because that's the center of the rose. Remember, the rose unfurls, so it's a radial design, right? So everything radiates out from the center piece, yeah? Okay, so in this drawing, you can see where I drew the E on its side like this. Got it? I need my glasses because I'm really blind. That's much better. Okay, so here's my E here. Here's my E here. Got it? And then from your E, take a little tiny line down and just have it kind of run into itself like that. So here's the letter E, and then a line runs straight into the top of the E, okay? On this drawing, it's the same way. Here's the letter E, and the line runs straight into the top of the E, okay? So then the center of the bud is kind of shaped like, I want to say like a vase, I guess. I would say it's kind of a vase. Like if you zoom in just like on this shape, it's a little bit of a bud. And the shape of a bud, it looks like a vase to me. So what I do is I start from this top line and I swing it down. And I start from this edge of the E, like the top of the E, and I swing it down until it tapers in, like that. Now you have something that looks kind of like the center, right, of a rose. Yeah? Okay. Oh, also, in art, there's something called size-scale relationship. I say it, you say it, right? Size-scale relationship? Size-scale relationship, excellent. So good, we're getting good at this. Okay, all size-scale relationship means is that the first size that you draw is connected to every other size you draw. So if, for example, I was to draw a tiny E, I'm probably gonna have either a really tight rose, which is gonna take a lot more work than these videos are gonna have, or it's gonna be a small rose. Like for example, again with an owl, if I'm drawing an owl and I draw a tiny owl eye, and I know the eyes are supposed to be big on the owl because that's the form and function. If I draw a tiny little eye, I'm gonna end up drawing a tiny little owl. So this is what I do with my students. I give them like an idea of how big I want it. Like, please make the E about as big as your pinky, right? So if the E fits in your pinky, that's about the right size. Or sometimes I'll use food like, I don't know, like a peanut M&M or an Oreo cookie, or you know what I'm saying? Okay, you have to have something to compare it to know how big you're gonna go, okay? And then also for this drawing, I kind of wanted the rose to be about as big as my fist. So I kind of knew where I was starting and where I was going to with the size scale relationship. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, cool. All right. Now there's something that I'm gonna call an S line, you know, like the shape of an S, like this is the shape of an S, S line, right? So when you draw a rose, you're gonna have some S lines that start out tightly bound together like a bud, and then they have these little, like an overlap, not an overlap, but like an edge that kind of, what would you say? It kind of rolls over on itself. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at one of these, and it's super hard, you guys, for me to draw upside down. I don't even know how I'm gonna do this. I'm like, whoa. I don't think I quite planned this out. All right, so I think from the bottom, I'll draw this S line out. This S line right here and back again. So I'm gonna start at the base of it. I'm gonna look at this, pull this line out, and then pull it back again so it connects like that. So it kind of looks like a swish or an S line, stretched out S line, yeah? Okay, that's the part where the rose folds down a little bit, okay? And then there would be like this little cradle part that the rest of the rose goes into. So I'm gonna start right here, and I'm gonna pull a line up like this, like that, okay? But then I have this little open pocket right here, so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna pull another S line. So I'm gonna pull out an S line like this. Okay, all right. So now I have like this part of the rose. I feel like this needs to be a little bit bigger though. And that's the thing, don't worry. I mean, like, if something feels off, change it. I mean, you got an eraser, right? Use your eraser. You're all good. You're all good in the hood. All right, but I do kind of like that little line there, so I think I might leave it. Yeah, I think I do. All right, so now I have these two pieces, and let's see. I'm gonna pull another S line out because remember, you're doing a radial design, so everything radiates out from the center of this rosebud, right? Okay. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna pull like this line out from here, like see this S line, and then I'm gonna pull it back. These are all the organic shapes we kind of practiced yesterday. So I'm gonna pull out an S line, see the S, and I'm gonna curve it around and connect it back to the rose. Does that make sense? Okay. So with these little folds, I'm gonna give a little line, and with this line, there's a certain name for this line. It's called implied line. I say it, you say it. Implied line? Implied line. Very good. Okay. So implied line, or a broken line is easier, but I always say implied. I don't know why, that's just what I do. An implied line means that your eye doesn't really need to finish the line. Your eye can fill in the information. And sometimes the best art doesn't have all the information laid out in front of you. Sometimes the best art leaves a little bit not there, so your eye can finish the rest. It makes your eye do the work, which holds the viewer looking at your art longer. It's kind of a big deal, okay? And we're gonna do quite a few of these implied lines that are the fold on the rose, because when a rose opens up and it starts to die, these little tiny edges curl up, yeah? Right, form and function. If you know it, you can draw it, okay. So now I have this line, I have this line here, I have this line here, this line here. Okay, so now I have this top part of the rose that it's not, can you see? You guys see? Yeah, it's all good. All right, so now I have this top part of the rose kind of that needs to be filled in because remember it's radiating outwardly. And I'm gonna do this shape much like the shapes that we did yesterday. So I'm gonna start like right here in this little empty pocket and I'm gonna pull out kind of like the shape of a tooth. Remember yesterday I said it's kind of shaped like a tooth? It kind of is shaped like a tooth, but now it's gonna be turned in from a tooth to a rose. And I'm gonna use that little implied line and leave a little edge there because your eye doesn't need to see the whole thing, right? Because when it dies away, it starts to curl on one end, and because I've kind of watched this, it starts to curl away on one end and the other end is flipped up the other way, okay? And then, let's see. Now I have like my radial design going. It looks like it's pretty much like on all ends, that's good. And so what I do next is I'm just gonna start making these shapes bigger because when a rose opens up, the shapes are open and they're larger, right? Make sense? Yeah, that makes sense, I think. All right, so I see like an open space here, and excuse me, and I'll pull like this funky tooth shape out again. I guess I'm gonna call it a tooth shape. I don't know what shape it is. I don't think it's a tooth shape, but it might be a tooth shape. Okay. Then I'm gonna go around the design and kind of do the same thing. And you can just kind of watch me. Drawing a rose can be a little tricky. That's why, you know, if this drawing, like direct instruction drawing doesn't work for you, try looking up a coloring book image and drawing from that, because sometimes that's just a little bit easier because you're seeing, I think I want something there instead. You're seeing the basic bare bones of the drawing. You're seeing just the contour line, right? And we remembered yesterday that the contour line is the outside edge, or in this case, it's got inside contour line. So outside contour line, inside contour lines, right? And that tells you the direction that you're gonna shade. Remember? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, good. All right, so now I feel like I'm building this and it's pretty filled in here, but it still has like empty here, empty here, empty here. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of look at my drawing and see what I can do. I've got that shape there. I think maybe what I'll do is I'll pull like another tooth shape. I know that's weird that I'm saying that. And maybe I will pull that line down. And then I'll pull my implied line on the top edge where it starts to fold over and just kind of leave it, okay? Now I feel like down here, I'm getting a little bit like too much spacey here. And this has got a little bit of the tricky part because you're looking at the rose from the front and you see the bottom of it, but then there's a piece that kind of pulls away. So I'm gonna pull this line out, pull out my S line like that. Pull it this way, like that. Pull it back toward the center of the rose. You should always be pulling all of your petals back to the center of the rose. In a radial design, it radiates outward. Make sense? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, now, and if I'm going too fast, please pause the video because I talk like a million miles a minute, I know. My nickname when I was a kid was Motormouth, so, you know, there you go. All right, so then I'm just gonna kind of start filling in. Wherever it doesn't feel balanced, I'm just gonna fill it in, because a rose basically is balanced because it's a radial design, like I said, right? Okay. Let's see, maybe like right here, I'll pull in one of those S lines, and then I'll give myself another implied line there. And this looks like a big pocket where I could open it up. And there's that tooth shape that we drew yesterday. And then I'm gonna do it again, like that. And then I will do it again, like this. Sometimes I do voices, I don't know why, I'm sorry. It's weird. All right, so I can't believe I'm drawing this upside down, that's crazy. Well, you know what? Sometimes what I do with my artwork, this is weird, but if I know something's not right with my drawing, I'll actually look at it in a mirror, or I will turn it upside down, because then your eye takes away all the information that you know. I mean, your brain is a little bit like a Filofax. You have to be a certain age to know what Filofax is. I guess I could call it a hard drive. That would make more sense to a lot of people that are younger. But your brain is kind of like a hard drive, and it has like pockets of visual information, and like in your mind, you're like, okay, this is how you draw a nose, this is how you draw an eye. And when you turn it upside down, you really see it differently. So yeah, sometimes I do turn my drawing upside down to see what's not working right. Yeah, all right. Just a little Betty Edwards there from Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. It's such a good book. If you really want to check it out, you should check out Betty Edwards. She is the Dalai Lama of drawing. Okay, and so I'm trying not to make these too uniform. I don't want this rose to feel like it was made in a factory, because, you know, I just don't. But sometimes I end up doing that. I don't know. I'm like such not a perfectionist. I am not a perfectionist person. But then when I draw, I get really kind of like type A on it. I don't know what that's about. All right. So now I feel like the rose is opening up pretty good. And I like that it's not exactly the same over here as it is over here. I'm not gonna change that part. I think maybe I'll add one more large petal down here, like that tooth shape that we drew yesterday, that organic shape, because that's what it's called. And then I'll leave that nice open implied line, because the eye likes to fill in information. You don't have to do everything for the eyeball. Let the eyeball do some work, all right? Get a job, eyeball. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so now I feel like the rose is pretty much drawn. I'm gonna check it, because we did that first thing that's called size scale relationship. So I know that I wanted my E to be about the size of my pinky, and I know that I wanted my rose to be about the size of my fist, which seems to be pretty accurate. Okay, so this part is super simple, guys. All you gotta do is take a line down, and I gotta make sure you can see this. Yeah, I think you can. Take a line down and make an S. So maybe I'll start here and bring my line up like that, okay? So that's the next step. And then, so do you remember how we did this part? How we did this part was we did a finger space, but we did it, oh, my light brim, my light just burned out. Can you see it? Oh, I don't like it when that happens. Can you still see? Because I don't want to stop recording, and if you can still, you know, I think it's very, okay. And if it starts flickering on and off, that's gonna freak me out, so I might have to stop. We practiced doing a Celtic braid, like right here, by doing finger spacing, right? So this time, all you have to do is you use this S line that you did and do a little finger space on it like this. It's like totally no big whoop. It's like a little line there, a little line there, a little line there. And like, you remember how I told you gotta turn your book, because you're gonna have to turn your page, dude. I mean, it's super hard to like keep things on the camera because I'm all over the place here. Yeah, so turn your page so that it feels comfortable in your hand. If you don't have like a comfortable hand, how are you gonna do a drawing if you're not like comfortable? If your hands are like, you can't draw like that, right? No, it ain't gonna happen. All right, then the next piece of doing this braid was doing those X's, and it was important that the X's were on a 45-degree angle, only this time you're gonna kind of turn them. So I hope you can zoom in on this, and when I looked at the video before, you could zoom in on it, so I hope you can. So I'm gonna start with an X here. Oh, and just for you guys to know, sorry, going back and forth. There's a couple of ways to do this braid. So on this page, if you want the braid to be bigger, do 2 fingers instead of 1. And then you can add all sorts of crazy stuff. You can just fill it in, man. It's like pattern is like a pizza. You could just keep heaping stuff on top of it. That's what I keep saying is pattern's like a pizza. You can add to it until, you know, It makes you sick, so. All right, so I'm doing my 11s. There's my 11, there's my 11. And here's a little bit different because I have to turn the 11 because all the 11s kind of have to be, they have to make sense to each other. They have to relate to each other. So now that the S line that I did for the stem is turning, can you still see? Yeah, you can still see. You can still see. It's all good in the hood. I'm turning the sketchbook because I need these S lines to all kind of make sense to each other. Make sense? Okay, that makes sense to me. I don't know if it doesn't to you. I don't know. Okay, so then I'm gonna do the other side. But remember, you know, the Celtic knot is all about the overlap, dude. If it ain't overlapped, it's not a Celtic knot. You gotta do your overlaps. I don't know why I'm doing an Italian accent. That doesn't make any sense. And I do a really good Irish accent, but I can't seem to do my Irish accent lately. I don't know what's up with that. All right. So now I'm putting in, and see, I gotta turn it because I gotta make sure that it's really an S line, because remember, you're gonna connect them. You're gonna make the smiley, frowny, smiley, frowny. We did it yesterday, remember? Smiley, frowny, smiley, frowny. So the top line connects to the top line and the bottom line connects to the bottom line and yada, yada, on and on. All right, I hope you can see because I'm drawing and I can't look at the camera at the same time. Yeah, okay. Here we go. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this line up into the rose, and I know normally you would probably see the bud part of the rose, but this is such an open rose that I think it would be covered. It would be an overlap, okay. And then you just totally do the frowny smiley, except for now they're sideways frowny smileys, so I don't know what that would be. An indifferent face? I have no idea. Top line, bottom line to the bottom line. Did I get it right? This can get a little tricky. I gotta make sure I'm doing it right. This line to this line. Yeah, this gets a little trickier. This might take you longer to do than the one you did yesterday, dude, because she's a little bit more tangled up. I'm just saying. All right. And then this line, oh, I messed it up, I think. I heard that Geico commercial where she's like, I have a rash, and that voice kills me. I can't, I was doing it with my friend on the phone today, just laughing, dying. I'm sorry, I watch commercials, I don't know, I don't have a life. Okay, so yeah, that line needs to go like that, and this guy, why are you not connected? You know you need to be connected. There you go. All right, and then this line here. And then that goes to that, like this. And then she swings it around like this. Did I do it right? Oh man, I'm messing up my own drawing. I don't like it when that happens. Okay, I won't do that voice anymore. It's really irritating. But it's funny when you're doing it with your friends on the phone. I could not stop laughing. I died. You know, okay, but don't do it on videos because it's just annoying. I got it. All right. I think that I'm getting it, but this might be a little trickier for you. So when you're doing this after you've bent your Celtic knot, just kind of think about, you know, where they connect and take your time with it because it might get messed up because I messed mine up, but I'm not going to freak out because it's just a drawing. Who cares? All right. So like this bottom one feels like I messed it up a little. I might have to do these X's over again. Sorry. And if I knew how to edit, I would totally edit, but I really don't know how to edit. Totally. So there's my X. There's my last X. Come on, you guys. Working out now. Yeah, okay, let's see. So this would go to that. That would swing to there. This would swing to that. Yep, that works. Okay. And then this would swing to there. That would swing to that. That would swing to that. And that would swing to that. Okay. So now I pretty much have, you know, the basic line drawing, boom, boom. All right, so we're gonna start shading these. Should I start shading today? Let me think about it. Tick, 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 tick. Yeah, I think I will. I'm gonna get this drawing done. All right, so I might end up doing like a time lapse. I'm not even sure. I'm gonna show you guys like how to shade in the beginning. So let's go back to the first round. Ding, 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 where are you? Hello, there you are, okay. So remember how I said when you shade, let's go back to that page. Here we are. When you shade, you have to consider how something is made, right? And so we use the outside edge, which is called the contour edge. Look, I wrote it upside down. Did I spell it right? I hope I did. Okay, so the outside edge of an object is called the contour line. And for understanding form and function of a rose, when it starts out so small, like this in a tight bud, and then it opens up, it's gonna be wrinkly because it's squeezed in there, right? So that's why I added these lines later. Okay, so you're gonna do the same thing, only you're gonna do it pushing and pulling with your value scale. Remember, 0, a highlight, pulls forward, and a core shadow pushes back, right? And you really want this to feel overlapped. So what you do is you're gonna start in the deepest part of the rose, which I would probably say like the opening part is like the deepest part, like right there. I would probably start with my value scale, and I would start shading it. And I'm shading, this I am shading up and down. I'm using this edge, ding, 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 as my direction, because that's the contour edge of how I believe I should shade this, okay? And you guys will make some choices. You'll figure it out. You can totally do this. It's just for fun, man. Who cares, right? All right, so now it does kind of feel like it's a tube, right? Because the center of the flower would be a tube, yeah? Okay, yes. Yes, Miss Glynn, thank you. All right, next, I think I'm gonna start shading. Where do I want to shade next? Oh, like let's do it right here. Okay, so here's the contour edge for this, right? See it? Ding, ding, ding. So I know that I'm gonna start shading in this direction like this. And sometimes I don't start too dark. I mean, I think maybe I start with a mid-tone, and then it's kind of like when you're cooking, and if you add too much salt, it's really hard to take out, right? So if you start with a mid-tone when you're drawing, you can always push it darker, but you can't, I mean, like if I went in there and you can do that, but it takes away from, I think, the integrity of the drawing. It doesn't look as great, right? Okay. So now, I did these implied lines, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to shade behind it. I am totally going to shade behind it. Why? Because it's kind of like, how do I explain this? It's kind of like, you know how like when people draw noses, they always put, I'm going to just tilt this up because I know that's not what we're talking about, but it kind of is. You know how when people draw noses, sometimes kids put a line here, right, and a line here, right? There's no line there. Don't do that. There's a line here at your nostrils, and I know it looks like I'm picking my nose, but I'm really not. There's a line here and a line here, but right here is a shadow, and that's how it fits into this piece, because watch. Ding, ding, ding. All right, so right here, God, I can't see a thing with my glasses, seriously. In this implied line, I am going to shade here. It's a shadow, it's not a line. There's a difference between a shadow and a line. Okay, so there's my value scale there, and I'm going to just start building from the center out. And again, I'm probably starting with the, remember how we talked about the value scale? 0, 5, 10. So I probably start out in like, because I know it's going to be a shadow, I'm going to start out in this section. And I do know that I need to have this full value scale for it to be a high contrast drawing. Remember the word high contrast? High contrast. Okay. When it's a high contrast drawing, it can be like a postage dot, like a drawing like this, like a stamp. And it can like pull your eye across the room. Why? Because it's a fully developed drawing, and that's kind of what you're going for, right? Right. All right, so turning the page. So like I said, if you add too much salt to the soup, you can't get it out. So that's why I start in around my 7 area. So here's 5, here's 10. I'd say that's about 7. Yeah, that looks like 7, yeah. All right, so start with your 7, and then what comes after 7 is, what before 7 is 6, because I'm going up, right? Because I want it to feel like it's going down. Dark pushes back, and light pulls forward. So now I'm just kind of carefully going in the right direction using this as my guide, because it's called the what? Contour line. You got it. It's called the contour line, and that's a big deal in art. If you can figure out, you know, what the contour edge is that you need to copy, you could shade anything. I mean anything, all right? Just got to figure out where the contour edge is. Okay, now I'm going to do this tiny little section right here, and this is going to be my contour line edge. Ding, 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 like this. And I'm not sure I'm going to shade this whole darn thing. It might take me forever in a day, and I don't have that many voices to do. I wish I could do my Irish voice. I was so good at it at one point. It was like super funny. I would like actually convince people that I was from Ireland. Probably not the best thing to do, but I did it. All right. So now I feel like I can actually start pushing back because I know where I want my number 10. So now I can add the salt to the soup, right? I can start pushing back with my number 10 because I don't really want to go in there and erase, because if I go in there and erase, it's going to look wonky and then I have to fix it, right? It kind of ruins the integrity of the drawing. I like that word, integrity. All right, so I'll go back into here, and now I can really start pushing this. Push, 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 push. I'm getting pushy with you, Rose. Telling you who's boss. Who's boss? You are, Miss Flynn. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You know, I'm talking to myself anyway, so. All right. So you can kind of see the difference of when I just went back in and I totally pushed that back with the number 10 value scale. I was ready to add the salt to the soup. Why? Because I knew that I didn't want to add too much salt, and I knew I couldn't take it out by erasing. Make sense? Okay. Then when you have this implied line right here, this is an edge. So I'm going to go in and I'm totally going to round off this. I need to click. And I'm telling you, dudes, if you don't have a Sharpie or a sharpener, you need to get one, because drawing, sometimes I have students drawing and like I'm helping them and they, you know, hand me their pencil and it's like they're drawing with, you know, a tennis shoe lace. I'm like, how are you drawing with this? It's not even making marks on your page, dude. Okay, so I'm going back into this contour line. Ding, 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 right here. There's the word of the day that you set at the dinner table. What'd you learn today? Contour line. Yep. Okay. So because it's folded a little bit, I want it to feel folded, right? So if it's folded, the little bit would be in shadow, and then the teeny, teeny little edge here, the teensy little edge would be in the highlight. And remember what I said about highlight? Use it sparingly, because it's like bing, it's like the bing in the eye of somebody. It's like, doesn't take up the whole page. Make sense? All right. I'm going to do a couple more of these because I want to talk about the striations, how we talked about the form and function piece. And since it's a rose and it starts out so tight and then it opens up, these little critters are going to be wrinkly, man. I'm telling you. And I understand. I get that. I understand that. All right. So behind, I think, which one can I do to show you? Maybe this one, okay? So this one's like a little kind of a cupped piece. This one has like, here's the edge, right? And here is where it's kind of flapped over, I wanna say, right? And there's like a whole bunch of things about light and shadow that I'm not teaching you right now because I think it's like too much soup. We're not ready for that much soup, right? I'll show you guys that later. Just now, no. The contour edge is the direction that you shade. And I have to turn this. It's like super bugging me. See, look, because I was like, I'm like, don't do it, and I did it, right? I totally have to turn this to shade it, and I know it's upside down to you, but you know, well, you'll get over it. All right. Shade, 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 shade. This is gonna be a little boring. I was thinking about getting a dog. I don't know. I love dogs. And my cat passed away like a couple months ago, and I'm like, gosh, it would be such a nice time to have like an animal in the house. And I really like, my brother's got this cute golden retriever, and I look at their pictures and I'm like, oh, what's a dog? Look how cute he is. But then I'm like, oh, there's like, you know, maybe the idea of a dog I like, but I don't know. It's a lot of work, man. It's a big commitment. Sometimes I think it's easier to raise children than teach dogs how to do stuff because I don't speak dog language. I don't know. Anyway, shade, shade, shade. Oh, and for those of you that are my students and you want to post this to Facebook, like after you finish your rose drawing, totally do it, man, because then you're going to go viral. And make sure you put your name like really big, hashtag cool. Put your name big, right? Own it. You do something well, you own it, right? I think so. Okay, so again, I'm just like beating this to death, but you kind of understand why you have like the contour edge now, right? Oh God, I'm so sorry, I'm doing the Geico girl. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry, I can't help it. She's like so funny. I don't know if you've ever seen those commercials with Flo. She kills me. She is a hoot. I think she must have been a comedian like before she got her Geico gig. She got the Geico gig and now she's all good in the hood, right? All right, so now that I think it's time to add a little salt to this soup, and that means I'm going dark, right? Because I don't want to add too much salt right away. If I add too much salt right away, I can't take it out. So you wait. You start in your mid-tone range, which is, am I getting better at flipping here? Start in your like seven area, right? When you know that you're gonna go dark. Okay, you know you're gonna go to a lighter highlight, don't start that dark. All right, so I'm adding some salt to this soup, so I'm punching it back. I'm adding some salt to this soup. Oh, I was gonna talk about the striations. Oh, I guess I'll do it here. All right, so like right here, I'm doing like That's literally the sound it makes. It's a striation, right? Yeah. It's a striation because of the form and function piece, right? Let's find another place where I can do the striation. Oh, right here. I can do it right here. All right. So I'll start pushing this back because, again, dark value does what? Pushes back, Miss Flynn. You got it. A dark value pushes back. Excellent. Okay. So I'm going to start pushing back here. And maybe I'll start adding my striation. Striation. And again, this is a little fold. That's an implied line. So you gotta shade the edge just like this. I need a better song. That song's lame. Sorry. I don't know. I'm just sketching, dude. I'm just hanging and sketching. I love sketching, though. It's fun.